Tom Miller wiped down the counter of his small diner for the final time that evening. The coastal town of Bayview had long since gone quiet, most of its residents tucked into bed hours ago. His diner, Tom's Place, wasn't anything fancy. Just good, honest food served with a smile. But it was his whole world. He flipped the sign to closed and dimmed the lights. The November wind whistled outside, carrying the scent of salt and rain. As he took out the trash to the dumpster behind his building, a noise caught his attention, the unmistakable sound of someone digging through garbage. "Hello," Tom called out, clutching his flashlight tighter. "Someone there." The rustling stopped immediately. Tom pointed his light toward the dumpster, expecting to see one of the local homeless folks he sometimes gave leftovers to. Instead, the beam illuminated something that made his heart skip. Two tall figures stood frozen in the light. They were nearly 7 feet tall, with slender bodies and skin that seemed to shimmer with a pale blue tint. Their large, almond-shaped eyes reflected his flashlight beam like a cat's might. But these were no cats, and no humans either. Tom stumbled backward, nearly dropping his flashlight. The creatures flinched at his movement, but didn't run. That's when Tom noticed something else. They looked weak. Their bodies seemed too thin, their movements shaky and uncertain. One was supporting the other, who appeared barely able to stand. "Are you okay?" Tom asked, the question feeling ridiculous as soon as it left his mouth. The taller one made a series of clicking sounds, then attempted what seemed like words. "Food. Need food. Please." Tom blinked in disbelief. These creatures, aliens, his mind finally admitted, were speaking broken English, and they were digging through his trash for food. "You're hungry?" he asked, pointing to his stomach. Both creatures nodded slowly, the gesture surprisingly human-like. Tom knew he should probably call someone. The police, the military, maybe NASA. But looking at them shivering in the cold, digging through garbage for scraps, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Whatever they were, they needed help. "Come inside," Tom said, gesturing toward the back door of his diner. "I have food. Real food." The creatures looked at each other, communicating silently. The weaker one swayed slightly. Finally, the taller one nodded. "Follow me," Tom said, heart hammering in his chest as he led two actual aliens into his kitchen. Inside, under the bright lights, Tom could see them clearly for the first time. Their skin wasn't just blue. It shifted colors slightly as they moved, like oil on water. They had no hair, and their faces were delicate despite their height. They wore what looked like tattered jumpsuits made of an unfamiliar material. "Sit," Tom said, pointing to the stools at the counter. "I'll make you something." As the strange visitors perched awkwardly on the two small stools, Tom quickly heated up soup, mashed potatoes, and some leftover roast beef. Simple, filling food. When he set the plates before them, the aliens stared. The taller one touched the soup with a long, 6-fingered hand, then brought a drop to what must have been its mouth. Its large eyes widened dramatically, and it made an excited sound to its companion. Within seconds, both creatures were eating desperately, using their hands when they couldn't figure out the spoons. Tom watched in amazement as they consumed everything he put in front of them. When they finished, the weaker one looked noticeably better. "Thank you," the taller one said, the words clearer this time. "We hungry long time." "You're welcome," Tom replied, still stunned by the situation. "I'm Tom. Who are you?" The taller alien placed a hand on its chest. "I am Lyra." Then, gesturing to its companion, "Sister, Nova. We lost." Tom nodded slowly, realizing his simple act of kindness had just connected him to something far beyond his small-town life. "Well," he said with a nervous smile, "you're found now." The morning light filtered through the blinds of Tom's diner. He had spent a restless night on the small cot in his office, while Lyra and Nova slept in the storage room upstairs. Several times during the night, he had crept up to check if they were still there, half convinced he had imagined the whole thing. But as Tom climbed the stairs with a tray of breakfast foods, the reality of his situation hit him again. He had two actual aliens staying above his diner. "Good morning," he called softly as he pushed open the door. The sisters were already awake, sitting cross-legged on the floor. When they saw Tom, they quickly stood up, moving with a grace that seemed almost liquid despite their weakened state. "Morning, Tom," Lyra said, her pronunciation better than the night before. Tom set down the tray of scrambled eggs, toast, bacon, and orange juice. "I wasn't sure what you might like for breakfast, so I brought a bit of everything." Nova, the smaller sister who had barely spoken last night, approached the food cautiously. She picked up a piece of toast, sniffed it, then took a small bite. Her large eyes widened, and she quickly took another, larger bite. "This is good," she said, her voice higher and more musical than Lyra's. Lyra tried the orange juice, and her reaction was immediate. The colors rippling across her skin brightened dramatically, shifting to warmer tones. "This drink," she exclaimed. "So sweet, so bright." Tom smiled, relieved they could eat human food. "It's orange juice, made from fruits that grow on trees." The sisters devoured everything on the tray. As they ate, Tom noticed their skin looking healthier, the colors more vibrant. Even their movements seemed more fluid and less strained. "Can you tell me how you ended up in my dumpster?" Tom asked when they finished eating. Lyra and Nova exchanged looks. After a moment, Lyra spoke. "Our ship," she said slowly, forming the words carefully, "broke, crashed in water near here. Many days ago." She held up 7 fingers, then 3 more. 10 days, we swim, hide, search for food. "You crashed in the ocean?" Tom asked, amazed. "And you've been surviving on your own for 10 days. Nova nodded. "Not much food we can eat on this world. Many things make us sick. But your food," Lyra added, touching the empty plate. "Good for us." "Very good. Where are you from?" Tom asked, curiosity overcoming his caution. Lyra pointed upward. "Far Star. Many jumps from here." She made a series of gestures with her hands that Tom couldn't understand. "Our world called." She made a sound Tom couldn't hope to pronounce, a complex series of clicks and tones. "Are there others looking for you? Will someone come to rescue you?" The sister's skin darkened slightly, and Tom sensed he had asked a difficult question. "No rescue," Nova said quietly. "Small scout ship. Not important mission." "We were mapping only," Lyra explained. "If no return, they think we died. Normal risk." Tom was shocked by how casually they accepted being abandoned. "So you're stuck here, on Earth?" "Unless we fix communication device," Lyra said. "Need materials, special metals." Tom ran a hand through his hair, trying to process everything. He should call authorities. These were aliens, after all. But something told him that would end badly for Lyra and Nova. "You can stay here," he heard himself say, "until you figure something out. But we need to be careful. No one can see you." Relief washed across their features, their skin brightening to a soft blue-green. "We help you," Nova offered. "Work in nighttime." "We learn fast," Lyra added, "already learning your words from listening." Tom nodded, realizing he had just become the caretaker of 2 stranded alien sisters. His quiet life had suddenly become anything but ordinary. "First things first," he said with a smile. "Let's see if you like pancakes." 2 weeks had passed since Tom had discovered Lyra and Nova behind his diner. Each day brought new surprises as the sisters adjusted to life on Earth. "No, like this," Tom demonstrated, holding the spatula properly. "Flip it quick but gentle." Lyra copied his movement, successfully turning the pancake without breaking it. Her skin flashed a proud yellow at the accomplishment. "I did it," she exclaimed, her English improving daily. Tom had closed the diner early, using the evenings to teach the sisters about human life. They were incredibly fast learners. What started as broken phrases had evolved into nearly fluent conversation, picked up mostly from listening to the radio and watching Tom interact with customers through a small window in the storage room. "Your language is simple," Nova explained one evening as she organized the spice rack. "Only sounds. Our language has colors and movements too." To demonstrate, she shifted her skin through a rainbow of hues while making a series of gestures. "This means grateful for shelter during storm season." Tom was fascinated. "That's amazing. I wish humans could do that." "Your faces show colors too," Lyra said. "Red when embarrassed, white when scared. We see them even when you cannot." Tom hadn't thought of it that way. "I guess we do have our own kind of color language." The sisters had begun helping around the diner after hours. Their slender fingers were perfect for delicate tasks like decorating desserts, and they seemed to enjoy the work. Tom had bought them proper clothes, loose-fitting to accommodate their unusual proportions, and taught them to hide their shimmering skin when necessary. Tonight, Nova was explaining their world to Tom as they cleaned the kitchen. "Our planet has 3 suns," she said. "Always light. No dark time like Earth. That's why we struggle to sleep here." Lyra added from where she was wiping tables. "Too much darkness." "And the war you mentioned?" Tom asked carefully, noticing how their skin darkened whenever they spoke of home. Lyra set down her cloth. "Our people fight with another species. Many generations of fighting. Started over resources. Both planets dying," Nova said softly. "Not enough food for all. That is why we were mapping new worlds." Tom felt a pang of sympathy. "So you were looking for a new home?" "Looking for hope," Lyra corrected. "Any world with food enough for both species could end war." Tom contemplated this as he put away the last of the dishes. These beings had crossed the stars searching for a solution to save their people, only to end up stranded on Earth. "What would happen if humans discovered you?" he asked. The sisters exchanged glances. "We studied Earth transmissions before coming," Nova explained. "Your people fear different, lock up what they don't understand. Or worse," Lyra added quietly. Tom couldn't argue. He'd seen enough movies to know how humans typically reacted to aliens. "Well, you're safe here," he promised, "and we'll figure out how to fix your communication device." Later that night, as Tom was preparing to leave, he noticed the sisters hunched over something in the corner. They were dismantling an old radio he'd given them, combining it with parts from broken kitchen appliances. "What are you making?" he asked. "First step of communicator," Lyra explained. "Basic signal amplifier." "We need stronger materials," Nova added. "Special metals, not common on Earth." Tom made a mental note to ask his friend at the hardware store about unusual metals. It was risky, but he couldn't help wanting to help these gentle beings return home. As he headed downstairs, he heard Nova call out, "Tom, thank you for teaching us. About cooking. About Earth." He smiled. "Thank you for teaching me about the stars." A month had passed since the alien sisters had entered Tom's life. The small storage room above the diner had transformed into a cozy living space with makeshift furniture and colorful drawings of star systems decorating the walls. The sisters had proven themselves not just quick learners but valuable helpers, cleaning and preparing ingredients after hours. One quiet Tuesday afternoon when business was slow, Tom closed early and invited the sisters downstairs to help with a new soup recipe. They now moved around his kitchen with confidence, having memorized where everything belonged. "This vegetable has strong smell," Lyra commented, holding up an onion. "That's an onion," Tom explained. "It gives flavor to the soup. Here, I'll show you how to cut it." As Tom demonstrated slicing techniques, Nova watched intently. "On our world, we have no cooking. Too few resources to waste on heat." "You don't cook your food?" Tom asked, surprised. "We eat simple things," Lyra explained, her skin shifting to a contemplative blue-gray. "Nutrition pastes, growth cultures. Nothing like your foods with so many textures and tastes." Tom couldn't imagine life without cooking. It had been his passion since childhood, learning recipes from his grandmother. "That sounds very practical," he offered, not wanting to offend. Nova nodded. "Survival is practical. Beauty is luxury." They worked together preparing the soup base. Tom noticed how carefully the sisters handled each ingredient, almost reverently. "Your world has such abundance," Lyra said softly. "So much food that you throw away what you don't use." Tom felt a twinge of guilt, remembering how he'd found them foraging in his dumpster. Not everyone on Earth has enough. Some people go hungry too. The sisters exchanged a look that Tom had come to recognize as their way of having a private conversation. "Tom," Nova finally said, "we want to show you something. The thank you gift." Tom wiped his hands on his apron. "You don't need to thank me." "We want to," Lyra insisted. "On our world, we have one skill considered minor, not useful for war or science. But here," she trailed off, looking at Nova. "Here it might help you." Nova finished. Lyra picked up a tomato from the counter. She held it between her long fingers and closed her eyes. Slowly, her skin began to pulse with a soft golden light. The light seemed to flow down her arms and into the tomato, which briefly glowed with the same golden hue. "Try it," she said, offering the tomato to Tom. Curious, Tom took a bite. Flavor exploded across his tongue. The tomato tasted more vibrant, more intensely tomato-like than any he'd ever eaten. It was sweeter, richer, and somehow more satisfying. "What did you do?" he asked in amazement. "We can enhance food," Nova explained. "Make it more nutritious, more flavorful. On our world, this ability is considered trivial because we have so little food to begin with. But here," Lyra continued, "with your cooking skills and our enhancement, we could make something special." Tom's mind raced with possibilities. "Can you do this with any food?" The sisters nodded. Nova demonstrated by touching a pot of broth. Her skin glowing a deep amber, the simple liquid transformed, its aroma becoming richer and more complex. "This is incredible," Tom whispered, tasting the enhanced broth. "People would love this." "We want to help your business," Lyra said, "as thanks for saving us." Tom hesitated. Using alien abilities in his food seemed like crossing a line. What if it wasn't safe? What if someone found out? Reading his concern, Nova added, "It's just concentrated nutrients and flavor. Nothing harmful. Our people have done this for generations." Tom looked at the sisters, at their hopeful expressions. They genuinely wanted to contribute, to be useful in a world where they were stranded. "Let's start small," he decided. "Maybe enhance one special dish and see how people respond." The sisters' skin brightened with joy, shimmering like the surface of an ocean at sunset. "You won't regret this," Lyra promised. Tom had no idea how prophetic those words would prove to be. The line outside Tom's place stretched down the block. What had once been a quiet local diner was now the hottest restaurant in town. Tom flipped the sign to "Open" and watched as the first wave of eager customers rushed in. "Is it true your food cures headaches?" asked Mrs. Johnson, a regular who had been coming to the diner for years. "I wouldn't say cures," Tom replied with a smile. "But people do seem to feel better after eating here." It had started with a simple tomato soup. Tom had allowed Lyra to enhance it, and the reaction was immediate. Customers claimed it was the best soup they'd ever tasted. By the end of that first week, word had spread about the magical food at Tom's diner. 2 more orders of the special risotto, called Penny, Tom's newly hired waitress. He had needed help with the sudden influx of customers. "Coming right up," Tom responded, slipping into the kitchen where Nova waited. When they were alone, Nova passed her glowing hands over the risotto, infusing it with the sisters' special energy. The food momentarily shimmered with a golden light before returning to normal, except now it contained enhanced flavors and nutrients that would leave customers feeling energized and happy. "Perfect timing," Tom whispered. The food critics from the city newspaper are here today. Nova's skin flickered with nervous purple ripples. Will they be suspicious? They'll just think I'm an amazing chef, Tom reassured her. Which I am, of course. But you and Lyra make it extraordinary. In the 6 weeks since they'd started enhancing Tom's food, business had exploded. The diner had been featured in local news, and food bloggers were writing rave reviews. People reported feeling better after eating there, more energetic, more positive, even healthier. What none of the customers knew was that late each night, Tom helped the sisters gather materials for their communication device. The increased income from the diner allowed Tom to buy the special metals and electronics they needed without raising suspicions. The device is almost complete, Lyra had told him that morning. 2 more components, and we can send a message home. Tom had mixed feelings about this. He had grown fond of the sisters and couldn't imagine the diner without them. But he knew they missed their world, despite its problems. Your special pasta is amazing, gushed the food critic later that afternoon. I've never tasted anything like it. What's your secret? Tom gave his practiced answer. Just quality ingredients and a lot of love. By closing time, Tom was exhausted but happy. The register was full, and the reviews were sure to be excellent. He locked the door and headed upstairs where Lyra and Nova were working on their device. Today was our busiest day ever, he announced, setting down a plate of leftovers for them. The sisters looked up from their work. The communication device resembled a small satellite dish connected to what looked like a modified radio. We are almost ready to transmit, Lyra said, her skin glowing with excitement. Perhaps tonight. Tom felt a sudden sadness. So soon. I thought we had more time. Nova approached him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. We just send message. Response may take days or weeks. And we would never leave without saying goodbye. Lyra added, you gave us life when we were dying. You are family now. Tom nodded, feeling relieved. Do you think your people will come for you? We don't know, Nova answered honestly, but they must hear what we discovered on Earth. What's that? Tom asked. Lyra's skin rippled with warm colors. That sometimes the greatest resource isn't food or minerals, but kindness. One human with a kind heart showed us more about hope than our entire civilization remembered. As the sisters returned to their device, Tom realized that whatever happened next, his life had been changed forever by 2 hungry aliens he'd found digging through his trash. 3 months had passed since Tom found the alien sisters behind his diner. Tom's place had become famous across the state, with people driving hours just to taste his miracle food. Customers claimed the meals cured their headaches, gave them energy, and even improved their mood. Business was booming, but tonight Tom had closed early. Upstairs, the sisters had finally received a response to their message home. It's coming through now, Lyra said, her skin pulsing with bright blue excitement as she adjusted their homemade device. Tom watched nervously as strange symbols appeared on the small screen they had built from modified computer parts. The sisters leaned forward, their large eyes rapidly scanning the message. What does it say? Tom asked when they finally looked up. Nova's skin shifted through several colors before settling on a calm green. They received our signal. They are surprised we survived. They're sending a ship, Lyra added, not to rescue us, but to investigate what we found here. Investigate. Tom felt a chill. What exactly did you tell them about Earth? The sisters exchanged one of their silent looks. We told them about you, Nova explained, about how you helped us when we were starving. Lyra nodded. In our culture, across the entire galaxy we have explored, this is unusual behavior. Tom frowned. Helping someone who needs food. That's unusual. For an advanced species to help unknown aliens without benefit to themselves. Lyra's skin darkened. Yes, very unusual. Most worlds we have contacted follow strict protection protocols, Nova added. They would have captured us, studied us, or destroyed us out of fear. Tom sat heavily on a nearby chair, trying to process this information. So your people are coming here because I gave you some soup. Not just our people, Lyra corrected. The High Council of the Galactic Assembly. Nova pointed to symbols on the screen. These markings indicate they consider this a first contact situation of the highest importance. The High Council, Tom repeated. Galactic Assembly. You never mentioned you were part of some space government. We are just scouts, Lyra explained. Minor members of a vast civilization spanning thousands of worlds. Nova touched Tom's hand gently. We didn't know if our message would even be received. We didn't want to give you false hope about what might exist beyond your world. Tom's head was spinning. So how many species are in this assembly? 42 spacefaring civilizations, Lyra answered, and hundreds more developing worlds under observation. Like Earth? Tom asked. Nova nodded. Earth has been observed for centuries, but no direct contact was approved because your people are. She searched for the right word. Volatile. But now they're coming here. To my diner. Tom couldn't believe what he was hearing. They will send representatives, Lyra confirmed, in disguised form, to meet the human who showed compassion to aliens without seeking advantage. The message says this act is considered the highest form of honor in assembly culture, Nova added. Feeding the hungry stranger with no expectation of return is seen as the mark of a truly advanced civilization. Tom laughed nervously. I just did what anyone would do. No, Lyra said firmly. What you did is rare even among your own kind, and virtually unknown between different species. Nova's skin glowed with a soft rose color. The Council is proposing something unprecedented. They want to offer you a position. What kind of position? Tom asked, his voice barely a whisper. Earth's first official representative to the Galactic Assembly, Lyra answered. They believe someone who would feed hungry strangers is exactly the kind of ambassador needed. Tom stared at them in shock. 3 months ago, he had been a simple diner owner in a small coastal town. Now he was being offered a position as Earth's first ambassador to an interstellar civilization. When, he stammered. When will they arrive? 3 days, Nova replied. They're already close. They'd been watching Earth for a long time. Tom looked around his makeshift alien apartment and laughed. I'd better clean up then. On the morning of the 3rd day, Tom stood on the beach near his diner, watching the waves crash against the shore. The sun hadn't risen yet, and the world was still painted in shades of blue and gray. Lyra and Nova stood beside him, their skin glowing softly in the pre-dawn light. Are you sure this is where they'll come? Tom asked, his voice barely audible above the sound of the ocean. Yes, Lyra confirmed. Water landings are safest on populated worlds, less chance of being seen. Tom nodded, trying to calm his racing heart. In just a few minutes, he would meet representatives of a vast galactic civilization, and they wanted him to be Earth's ambassador. I don't know if I can do this, he admitted. I'm just a diner owner. I don't know anything about diplomacy or alien cultures. Nova's skin rippled with gentle blue patterns. You know more than you think, Tom. You welcomed us when others would have feared us. You fed us when we were hungry. You helped us build our communication device. That's just being decent, Tom argued. That is exactly why they chose you, Lyra said firmly. The water before them began to glow with a soft light that grew brighter by the second. Tom squinted as a shape emerged from beneath the waves, not rising up, but appearing as if a curtain was being pulled away. A sleek silver craft hovered just above the water's surface. They're here, Nova whispered, her skin flickering with excitement. A door appeared in the side of the craft, and 3 figures stepped out. They looked almost human, but Tom could see subtle differences. Their proportions were slightly off, their movements too fluid. They were disguised, just as Lyra had said they would be. The tallest of the 3 approached. Thomas Miller of Earth, it said in perfect English. I am Ambassador Kelm of the Galactic Assembly. These are my associates. Tom swallowed hard. Nice to meet you. Lyra and Nova have told us much about you, Kelm continued. Your actions have impressed the High Council greatly. I just gave them food, Tom said, embarrassed by the attention. Kelm's disguised face showed a hint of amusement, a simple act with profound implications, especially when we learned what the sisters had been doing to repay her kindness. Their food enhancement, Tom realized. You know about that. It is a rare and valuable gift, one of the other aliens said. On most worlds, such an ability would make them treasured resources, not mere scouts. Their ability to enhance nutrition and flavor is highly prized across the galaxy, Kelm explained. Many civilizations would pay handsomely for such services. Tom looked at the sisters in surprise. You never told me that. It didn't seem important, Nova said simply. Kelm stepped closer to Tom. We have come to offer you a choice, Thomas Miller. You may become Earth's first official ambassador to the Galactic Assembly, leaving your life here behind. Or, Tom prompted when Kelm paused. Or you may remain here, continuing your work with Lyra and Nova, who have requested permission to stay on Earth. Tom looked at the sisters in shock. You want to stay? Lyra's skin glowed warmly. We have found purpose here, helping people through food. We propose a compromise, Kelm continued. Your diner could become Earth's first diplomatic outpost, a place where humans can experience the benefits of galactic cuisine and where visiting assembly members can learn about Earth culture in a controlled environment. An intergalactic restaurant? Tom asked, amazed by the idea. The first of its kind, Kelm confirmed. A bridge between worlds, built on the simple act of sharing food. As the sun finally broke over the horizon, casting golden light across the beach, Tom looked from the aliens to his diner on the hill above. His simple act of kindness had opened a door to the stars. The choice before him wasn't really between staying or going. It was between clinging to the familiar or embracing something extraordinary. I think, Tom said with growing confidence, that everyone should have a chance to taste what kindness and understanding can create. He extended his hand to Ambassador Kelm. Let's build that bridge. As they shook hands, the first light of a new day spread across the water, heralding not just a new morning, but a new chapter in human history, all because one man had given food to two desperate alien sisters.